Coming up on Hot Hardware, we're talking about the Zacate, NVIDIA's brand new flagship graphics card, Google TV, and a whole lot more. Welcome to Hot Hardware, where we talk about the hottest technology in the world. I'm Aya Zakhtar, alongside Dave Altavilla and Marco Chiappetta, the guys from Hot Hardware. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. So let's talk about AMD's newest, latest low-power APU. Now, we've talked about the APU before with the Llano unit, I think it is. But now there's a new thing called the Zacate. Dave, what am I talking about?
Yeah, so Zacate actually is the code name for the processor. Something about a river in Texas, I think, or a Mexican river, or something like that. At any rate, you can Google that if you like. APU stands for Accelerated Processing Unit in AMD speak. And what it is a combination of standard CPU architecture, x86 CPU architecture, 64-bit capable, along with AMD's graphics core. And in case of Zacate, it's actually targeted towards the mobile platform, and it incorporates a 9-watt and an 18-watt version of the chips. So the 9-watt, something that would go perhaps in a netbook and or tablet, maybe even. They didn't say tablet, but they, you could envision that. And the 18-watt and something like an ultra thin and light notebook to really kind of low mid-range, but definitely the super light class, if you will. And the hook that AMD has is obviously their graphics core is robust. It's a DX11 capable graphics core on this chip.
Now, I know you guys got to test it out a little bit, not officially anyway. How did it actually perform? Does it seem like a really interesting unit?
It's one of those things where sort of a catch-22. Honestly, early on when we looked at Intel's Atom processor for netbooks, and certainly Intel has mopped up their share of design wins on netbooks with Atom. One of the things we sort of knocked it for was this lack of multimedia processing horsepower. And when you talk about a thin and light notebook or netbook especially, you're lacking some processing horsepower on the decode side for things like HD video, just in general, the multimedia experience. Not so much hardcore gaming, because let's face it, you're just really not going to do that on a netbook platform, maybe a little bit on a notebook platform, but certainly not on the ultra thin and light end, more in the mid-range. So yeah, these guys have a more robust graphics block, technically, than the folks in Intel, if you look at it. And, even NVIDIA made a business with the Ion chip early on to support Atom and help it out for graphics processing. And so you would think there's a nice opportunity for AMD here to come in and step in with a fully integrated solution, single chip, on die graphics. It's not a multi-chip module, a multi-chip solution, and it's looking good. It's pretty favorable. It's going to compete against Intel's CULV, or consumer low voltage processor line of architecture in the thin and light notebook categories, and then against Atom, that 9-watt version of Zacate, for the netbook side of things. And the question is going to be, one of the checkbox items they have is DirectX 11 support. Are you really going to be playing a DirectX 11 game on this chip? Probably not. But you might do things like World of Warcraft or whatever, real-time, role-playing game or something like that. Maybe some online gaming, and then certainly, the HD video side of things is going to be robust.
So, Marco, in top stories, we're going to talk about graphics cards, but let's talk about something way more important with much more processing power. Your new baby girl. You have a new daughter. Congratulations to Marco. Could you tell us about Sophia's specs?
I can. Sophia is a beautiful, healthy little girl. She came a few days late, but you'll know why when I tell you how big she was. 21.5 inches, 9 pounds, 12 ounces, and she's beautiful.
And how is Mom doing?
Mom's actually great. She's in the next room chilling with the baby right now.
Okay, that's good. We're all excited about this. We're very happy for Marco and Mrs. Chiappetta.
Proud Papa.
And
yes.
And Sophia, welcome to a world full of technology, and your dad is going to make sure that you know everything there is to know about graphics cards.
Yes.
Because that's what he does.
I made a mobile out of netbooks.
Marco, I know you got to mess with the NVIDIA's GTX 580. You're calling it, or they're calling it their new flagship. What's cool about this thing?
So before I tell you what's cool about the 580, I have to give a little backstory. The GTX 480 launched back in March, and it turned out to be the fastest single GPU out there, but it was late to market, ran really hot, consumed a lot of power, and it was loud. So NVIDIA kind of knew that before the card came to market, and they wanted to address those concerns, so they started working on a new GPU, which landed in the GTX 580. So it's very similar to the GTX 480 in terms of its architecture. There were some tweaks made to the ROPs and to improve Z-Colon performance, but really it's a refinement of the previous GF100 GPU with all of its CUDA cores activated that consumes a little bit less power, and it features a new vapor chamber cooler that makes the card really quiet. So you end up with this super fast GPU. It still, consumes a lot of power, relatively speaking, to AMD's offerings, but it's quiet and it rocked in the benchmarks.
So what kind of performance differences are you looking at between that and the 480? What makes this the flagship?
What makes it the flagship is, bar none, no question, basically every scenario beats every card in performance. It turned out to be between 30 and 100% faster than AMD's previous single GPU flagship, the 5870, and up to 20 to 30% faster than a stock GTX 480. Now, with that said, AMD's dual GPU, the 5970, overall turned out to be a little bit faster. But, the moral of the story is it's taking two of AMD's current GPUs to compete with one of NVIDIA's high-end GPUs in terms of performance. Now, I have to give another little gotcha. AMD does have new high-end GPUs coming sometime soon. Whether or not the GTX 580 stays on top, we can't answer that just yet.
Anyway, let's move to the Google television. The set-top box sort of thing that Google has out now is out by several manufacturers. Sony's got one. Logitech has one with the review. If you guys don't know about Google TV, it basically is supposed to bring internet television to your television. But the thing is, it seems like every network out there is blocking access to their videos on Google TV. Dave, what do you know what's going on here? Because I know people aren't just letting that happen.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of conundrum that Google's in. And the word on the street certainly is that there's hackers in the community that are going to get a hold of this thing. Google being largely supporting open source and thus making things available just in general from an operating system standpoint. So yeah, I mean, you could expect that folks in the community will figure out how to circumvent these blocks that folks like CBS, ABC, and the major TV networks are invoking on Google. But the question is, why are they doing this? I mean, obviously they're serving up content on places like Hulu and other places, and I guess we don't know the exact business model that these major networks have with Hulu and what the fees are or what have you, the royalties are that perhaps they pay to stream their content, or maybe they don't. But we all know that Google's got deep pockets, and as you and I were talking about this before the show, I think that's really where the rubber meets the road. That's the friction point, if you will, that these networks have with Google, is that these guys are huge, and certainly they're probably on some levels a little afraid of them, and they know they've got deep pockets, and it's their content, and quote unquote we need to be paid for our content. Well, yeah, but if you already have a subscription to cable and you have this thing called Google TV, you've already paid for your content. So why can't you just watch it on a different medium? What's the big deal?
Let's talk about an unsung hero of the computer age. We've been talking about graphics cards and we've talked about HTPCs, but I mean, that stuff's pretty much useless if you don't have something like a hard drive that can actually hold the data that runs your operating system. Now, Now, Marco, I know you guys did a retrospective on the hard drive. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, this is actually a really cool article. Our man Joel took hard drives dating back from 1996 all the way up to a Western Digital 10,000 RPM Velociraptor and plugged them into a fresh test system and ran a couple of benchmarks on the drives, on the identical test system to show exactly how much performance has improved on hard drives from 96 to now. And, it's funny. Compared to an SSD, there's no comparison. SSDs are faster. They're like the darling of the enthusiast community right now. Everybody loves solid-state storage for its performance. And the hard drives have kind of gotten a bad rap if you go back and look at the performance gains. You're talking single-digit megabyte per second transfers in the early drives to, over 100 megs per second in the drives available now. And the cost has just gone so far down. A 2 gig WD Caviar drive was $280 in 96. Now you can get a 2 terabyte drive, for 15, 18 cents a gigabyte. It's just funny when you actually go back and compile the data to see the advancement. It's just a fun article for me.
Now, Marco, we're running a contest where we're trying to name this podcast. Could you let the viewers know about the actual contest and the rules? And then we'll kick around our favorite ones we've heard so far.
Sure. So as we've talked about on the last couple of podcasts, we are going to give away a super powerful AMD Phenom X4 powered system with a bunch of parts from partners like ASUS, Psycho Audio, Cooler Master, Western Digital. I am going to assemble the system myself. It's going to be super immaculate. I promise whoever wins it, you're going to like it. And all you have to do is come up with a really cool name for our podcast. You can either hit our site and comment on the news post about the contest, or send an email to podcast@HotHardware with your idea, and whosever idea we pick is going to win the system.
Right now, I'd say the bar has been set internally. We have a problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Leet speak. You came up with leet speak, and I kind of like that.
By pure accident, and unfortunately, for some reason, these guys are telling me I can't win the system. What are some of the ones that you guys have read from the readers and the commenters that you really like?
So we actually have a new member who I think came up with some cool ideas. His name is FreeJet.
Yeah.
I kind of like this one, Scylla Conversations, which is pretty cool. There's also kind of a play off that. Scylla Conversers. Silly Conversers, get it? Get it, huh?
Yeah.
Aha, I get it. Ah.
There's some other cool ones out there too. Like I like What the Tech. That's pretty cool.
I like the
what about
DMZ or Backdraft.
Backdraft. I don't know. DMZ to me sounds like we're going to be doing a military podcast, and in political news, the DMZ is supposed to be.
It's also a networking term, though.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a network geek.
But I'm thinking military first. And there's a very popular comic book. So thinking with my podcasting brain, I think that SEO would be terrible on this one. Or What the Tech.
Yeah, you're right.
Good luck trying to find What the Tech. What the Tech sounds great, except for good luck finding it online. What the Tech.
WTT.
What the Tech.
Such a killjoy, man.
I am a killjoy because I want the dang prize.
Man.
Have you heard about what Marco's going to do to this machine? Have you heard what's in the machine? I mean, go to the post, look at the list. It's awesome.
You got to be good.
We're going to hook you up eventually somehow.
Yeah, somehow. But you see, you guys get to hooked up right now. So you know what? Also, people, if you want to go see Hot Hardware around the web, there's not just HotHardware.com, which I suggest highly. Go to HotHardware.com. Or you can go to lots of places like dig.com/HotHardware. Or you can go to Facebook.com/HotHardware. Twitter.com/HotHardware. YouTube.com/HotHardwareVids. I'm Ayaz Akhtar. Guys, thanks so much. We will see everybody next week, probably with a new name. Actually, we have a date when the contest will be over, right?
Right, 14th.
14th. Get your suggestions in.
I love Sophia.